Hello everybody and welcome to the IMB World Series GT3 Championship Season 4. This is the Temple of Speed, this is Monza, and we've got a couple of great races lined up here tonight as the championship really starts to wind down to its final few rounds. 4 rounds to go, including this one. We're only weeks away from knowing the name of the winner here in the 3 classes for Season 4. My name's Jim O'Leary, I'm alongside Zach Sweeney here for tonight's action, and this is going to provide its little slice of drama here, Zach. I absolutely love Monza for racing in terms of how close these cars are going to stay. The slipstream effect will be massive, and so we're going to see some very close racing, very interesting racing as well, hopefully.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Monza, it's a circuit that is always going to be a driver's favourite because it just is naturally going to bring some close racing, as we say, with the slipstream. It's got so much history. It is just fun to drive. While it can sometimes be a little bit difficult to overtake, you do have to come into Monza with a different mentality. You have to pick and choose your moments a lot better. But of course, with that long run from the Parabolica down the pit straight towards the Rettifilo chicane, there is definitely plenty an avenue for some good overtaking opportunities, and with a championship as close as this, Ewan, they've got to be on their toes.
Yes, they certainly do. Only 15 points separate Neil Butler. Stuart Reynolds and Albin Kjellberg at the top 3 of the pro standings right now. Chris Chatterton over 100 points back right now. It's becoming a bit of a 3-horse race there with 4 rounds to go. By the way, the drop rounds have been included in that calculation, but they're not zeros, I can assure you. But yes, the drop rounds have been included in that one, and 3 drivers separated by only 15 points, as it has been since the very start of the season, where Lucas Romano took the first 2 race victories. He's still leading the championship in Pro-Am, although the margin is down to 11 points. John Williams has just had a fantastic qualifying session. We'll tell you a little bit more about that a little bit later on, but those 2 are very close together indeed. Stuart Reynolds is only 33 points back right now. Michael Patterman less than 40 back at 39 points back now as well, so it is pretty close in the Pro-Am standings as well. And in the Am standings, finally, Conor Botting still leading there, as he has done for a lot of the season. It's an 11-point margin between himself and Louis Boubier, who last time he finished outside of the top 2 was back in the 3rd round, in the 2nd race of the 3rd round. So he's having a fantastic run of results right now, and if they continue, then he is going to be very difficult to beat, despite being only in 2nd right now. Can't count out the likes of Dirk Bounce or Tony Norgran just yet either in those standings, and maybe even James Slate's in the top 5, just over 50 points back. But there are some very close championship margins. I mean, 15 points is the biggest gap between 1 and 2 we've got in this season so far. So it is looking very good in terms of actually getting a good finale for this season. It should be very entertaining, these final 4 rounds.
I really can't wait, and as well with the tracks that we've got lined up for them, it's just been such a good season up until now, and I really cannot wait until we sort of get to that final stretch. Of course, we're here in Monza. We go we return to Canada for Mosport in a week's time. Then we take a break week, Daytona and Mount Panorama to round off the season, and with championships like that, with Bathurst to round off the season, and hopefully an even a tight championship to go with it. That is just going to be a recipe for some intense finale. Of course, we didn't quite get the climax that we would have wanted to last time out at Daytona, but fingers crossed season 4 is going to be a bit different. And well, Monza, let's see what we got.
Yeah, we will. Neil Butler on pole here for the pros, just ahead of Stuart Reynolds. Colin Beeman is 3rd ahead of Kieran Smart. Harry Wills rounds out the top 5 with Andy Miller 6th. Thomas Reiter 7th. Chris Chatterton in 8th. Lee Holmes and Ayus Yomantas round out the top 10. We've got Thomas Dandridge. Albin Kjellberg didn't qualify in that session. He's 12th, ahead of Jonas Dreyer and Louis Gardner rounding out the pros. John Williams qualified on pole overall in that session. He'll be on Pro-Am pole, no doubt, with Liam Ahern alongside him. Dean Timms 3rd, Jeremy De Boyer in 4th, with Stuart Reynolds rounding out the top 5. Chris Thacker will be 6th. Ashaveo Haddad and Lucas Romano will share row 4. Far down for the championship leader, Didier Vlaminck and Juho Huutonen round up the top 10 in the Pro-Ams. And as we haven't got much time, we'll skip to the Ams with the top 10 there as well. It's Louis Boubier again having a great qualifying. Dirk Bounce is 2nd ahead of Navarro De Boyer in 3rd. Championship leader Conor Botting down in 4th with James Slate's 5th. Mark Bailey is in 6th ahead of Gus Franken and Tony Norgran, who will share row 4. Then it's Kurt Van Hoornacker and Jerome Reigns who will round out the top 10 in Am. Slightly reduced field now, 44 cars on the grid, but still very healthy indeed in terms of the amount of drivers that are out there. Once again, it's not quite up towards the 60 numbers that we had back at Spa and some of the opening rounds, but Hockenheim, for example, but it is still very numerous indeed, and it's getting very interesting indeed as well. The lights are going to come on very soon. The pace car will pull in, and we'll be underway once again for that special run down towards turn number 1. The Variante del Rettifilo. Will there be any incidents through here? This famous opening chicane that has claimed so many in the past. We'll see just how many it's going to on this occasion. Louis Gardner pulls out of line there to try and get the jump on everybody, but it's Neil Butler who's managed to do that off the start. Callum Beamer's going to follow him through, as Kieran Smart is also going to pull across and try and shove out Stuart Reynolds here, who's not got off to the best start. Late on the brakes for everybody. Reynolds going to try and hang it around the outside. He hasn't been able to do that into the first chicane on this occasion. John Williams will get us underway for the Pro-Ams as Lucas Romano tries to get himself underway from the middle of the pack there. Dangerous for him. John Williams could very well take the championship lead if Romano doesn't gain some places in these laps here in this 25-minute opening race. He's up to 7th in this opening start. And finally, the AMs, with Lewis Boubier holding them a little bit longer for these guys than the Pro-Ams were held. Certainly, he's going to get underway with a couple of car lengths advantage over the rest as well. Dirk Bounce will be second. Connor Botting will slot into third. It looks like Navarro de Boiva may well slot into fourth as well, although there's going to be a bit of a contest there. And there's a contest for second as well, although Dirk Bounce will continue on in second ahead of Connor Botting there in the top 3. Everybody gets through the first chicane cleanly. That's somewhat remarkably.
Clean start here at Monza T1. What more could we have asked for? Everyone's now just trying to settle in, get their heads down. Neil Butler leads from Callum Beeman, Stuart Reynolds, Kieran Smart and Harry Wills are your top 5. Remember last time we were at Monza, Harry Wills shone in that Mercedes. He's at the moment doing quite well up there in P5. Let's touch wood and hope that it continues on some good form for him. John Williams, crucial for him to really breach away from the slipstream of Liam Ahern in second place, especially when Lucas Romano is dwindling there in 6th, because it can be difficult to work through a train here at Monza. John Williams perfectly poised to take the win here in race 1, of course try and carry that across into race 2, but crucial for his championship to try and bridge the gap as much as possible between him and Romano.
It absolutely is. Lewis Boubier right now just being pegged back ever so slightly by Dirk Bounce. The two of them getting away though. Connor Botting can't quite hold on to the draft for now. He's struggling to do so anyway, just trying to onto the coattails there and get pulled along for the ride here, but it doesn't look like he's going to, as it's side by side now for 7th place. Andy Miller's gotten through on Thomas Reiter, or nearly has. He's finally done it now. Andy Miller up into 7th place. Chris Challerton was involved in this as well, and that's why a gap has opened up from 6th place, so the top 5 have been able to get away, and this is what the opening moments of Monza is all about. Getting in the draft, getting in that front group, and getting away from some of the others behind. That's what the top 5 have been able to do here. The top 2 have been able to do that in AM as well. So it's very important these opening laps to kind of play the games with the draft, and try and get away and try and limit the front group's numbers as much as you possibly can.
Yeah, for sure. It's a game of chess. You really have to work the mental game when you're here at Monza. Side by side amongst some of the AMs for P3 between James Slates and Connor Botting for P4. Of course, Botting does not want to let his teammate Lewis Boubier get any more points above him in this race than he can sort of help. But he's got Bailey just in behind him, a 3-car train for 3rd place beginning to form. But as we say, that is not good if they want to win this race. You have to stay in the train. There's Glenn Humberstone going a little bit slowly off the exit of T1. That allowed Cars Pierce to go through. He's going to be serving a drive-through penalty. But yeah, it's so difficult around Monza to close that gap back up once it is opened up. So these opener moments are so crucial, and if running side by side for P11 sort of places, side by side into Ascari, that's going to be bold and brave. Simon Dodd around the outside of Francois Beaudry, that is definitely something we don't often see. There's Alex Bomberg trying to get into the mix as well. I think that ended in tears. But here at Monza, you've got to stay in that front group.
Yeah, well, I thought they would actually end worse than that, but I thought Alex Bomberg was going to be ending up in the wall, but thankfully it wasn't quite that bad. It still wasn't great. As Andy Miller is going side by side now with Thomas Reiter again, who's going to count himself second time looking. Stuart Reynolds now coming under fire. He was trying to get through on Callum Beeman there, and now Kieran Smart is going to try and tuck through as well, side by side through the Curva Grande, and it's a long way around the outside there for Stuart Reynolds. He's going to do well to hang on here, really. Let's see if he can hold on to the inside line. It looks like he will, and maybe he'll hold on to the place as well. He does into the Del Rocha, and that is a good bit of defensive driving from him to hold on to third. This group just swelling a little bit though as the leader tries to get away. Lewis Poupia trying to do the same in Am as well, but it can be difficult to get away at Monza because of the drafting effect and the advantages there are to actually being in a group and slipstreaming off of one another. It can be difficult to go away as a solo driver, but it's made easier when stuff like this happens for second.
Yeah, indeed, running under the old banking towards Ascari. Is Callum Beeman going to keep it brave on the inside? The answer to that is no. Stuart Reynolds up in a second place now, a 1.5 second gap bridging between Neil Butler and Stuart Reynolds. That is a huge gap relative to Monza. No pit stops, of course, in race 1. They come in a little bit later in race 2, and it's going to be so difficult there. Oh my word, is the BMW going all sorts of wrong just in the background? I think that might have been Alwin Kjellberg off the exit of Ascari. A very tricky corner, but yeah, Monza, it's such a difficult... Oh my word, Michael Patterman jumping over the curb into Ascari. Fortunately for him, Packer does not get caught up in that at all, but he come in like a rocket ship.
That was that all went very wrong, and I'm not entirely sure why, but that got pretty ugly for him, I'm afraid. Ended up in the wall at Ascari, and I'm just looking to see whether he was disqualified for driving the wrong way there. I'm presuming he got it turned around quickly enough, and I believe he did. But he did just start driving straight the wrong way there, which is never a great idea. Not least because you can drive into other people head on, but getting disqualified as well is not ideal. Callum Beeman back into second. He was briefly displaced by Stuart Reynolds there inside the first 5 minutes, but now he's back into second again. And he's going to try and chase down Neil Butler, who's currently leading this race and, of course, leading this championship as well right now. Kjellberg down in 10th. Reynolds only third, so he's not going to gain too many points there, but it's never a bad idea when you're championship leader to just extend it out even more as Harry Wills just goes off around at Lesmo 1. I'm afraid Harry Wills' miserable season is continued there.
Harry Wills. He had a pretty good showing last time out at Canada. This is exactly what happened right on board with the Mercedes. Took a little bit too much speed in the rear end of the car, just wasn't having it over the gravel. The car, you are just a passenger at that point. There is nothing you can do to save that. That is so unfortunate for Harry Wills at a circuit that he usually feels so confident at. And that's the thing with Harry Wills, his consistency ebbs and flows, and so too does his pace. And that is going to spell an end to at least his chances in race 1. We cut back to the live action because Callum Beeman and Stuart Reynolds are going to run side by side in towards Parabolic, and nearly Callum Beeman just on the defensive could tarnish his run, but this is not good because in a situation where they have to try and catch after Neil Butler, they both want to lead, and in doing so are tripping over each other.
Well, John Williams here is all of a sudden lost his lead, and I was not expecting this to be the case. I think he maybe got a slowdown out of Ascari there because he seemed to lose a big lead very quickly, although I'm not entirely sure. If I'm honest, Liam Ahern certainly isn't now leading, is he? No, sorry, that is Harry Wills just in front, isn't it? Liam Ahern's just in behind, so he hasn't lost the lead here, John Williams. He's just he's held on to it. He's getting the slipstream though from Harry Wills, and that's going to be really helpful. Not only is it going to pull these two away from the rest and create a two-car leading group, but it's also going to mean that John Williams is going to be a bit more difficult to pass if he's got a lapped car slipstream just up in front.
Yeah, it is going to sort of play to his advantages for John Williams, but it is surprising, and it goes to show how difficult it is to get away here at Monza, because he took pole by a good margin and of course took pole overall, so he definitely has some good pace in that BMW, but of course the slipstream is allowing Liam Ahern to stay in tow. This is about still in the hours between Reigns and Tony Norgran. Tony Norgran, of course, is still an outside shot for the championship fight, and he's going to try and make it as best a chance as possible. To the inside of the Rettifulo chicane, you can see there the Audi incredibly late on the brakes, and Tony Norgran sort of couldn't quite commit to it as much. Still side by side between Stuart Reynolds and Callum Beeman for second place. Stuart Reynolds once again in front, but you have to argue how long is it going to last and how big of an advantage is Neil Butler going to have at the end of it.
Absolutely, he's gotten 1.7 seconds right now, and it's a case really of whether these guys have given up all thought of a race victory now, or whether they're just going to battle anyway. We'll try and find out here, but it's 1.5 seconds. If they got organised here, I'm sure the gap would start to come down, but it's anything but organised right now at the front of Pro. It's not much different here in Pro-Am either. So there must have been some incidents here for Louis Gardner, because he all of a sudden is not far in front of these guys. John Williams just been slowed up ever so slightly by all of this. Dean Timms, Lucas Romano and Stuart Ryan is also fighting over at third place. Mark Bailey tries to find his way down the inside of Connor Botting, who is struggling here in the Audi by the looks of things. And if this continues, he may well lose the lead of that category to Lewis Boubier, who's currently leading this one right now. He wouldn't lose it in this race, but it wouldn't do his amateur position any favours, as we've got a number of drivers in pit lane now after these opening laps. For one reason or another, there's clearly been a few incidents away from where we've been looking, because Thomas Dandridge, Ayush Diamantas and Jonas Joao are all in the pit lane.
Yeah, it is a shame. Now side by side between Dean Timms and Lucas Romano down in towards the Roger. You can see there Romano on the outside line doing a really good job of keeping the reigning AM champion at bay. Stuart Vines and Thacker also wants to get into the mix. To the inside goes Stuart Vines in towards the fastest two Lesmos. Dean Timms going to try and keep him honest on the outside, though gets tagged by Thacker going in, and oh my word, face plants into the barrier, and that is not good at all for Dean Timms, who again this season has not boasted much success. This was a good chance really to get onto the podium, but yeah, I think Thacker just maybe I'm not entirely sure as to what happened. We'll take another look at it, but maybe do we argue Dean Timms too eager on the outside, or maybe a little bit eager for the chasing car just to nip his nose to the inside? Well,
I think it was the wheel-to-wheel contact that made it all a bit worse, but it's certainly the Eclipse car coming in from behind there and clipping Dean Timms that was the final blow. There was indeed a bit of contact initially on the way into the corner, but after that, just completely driven into by Chris Thacker, I think it was, who drove into him. There's the contact, and you can see in the way that the Eclipse BMW was placed there, it's almost as if he didn't consider the fact that Dean Timms was there. But there we are. That's the out for the lead changes now. Liam Ahern down the inside, and John Williams has to give him that one. Very surprised though that Liam Ahern is running him this close, because John Williams qualified on pole overall, not just in Pro-Am but overall as well, which is remarkable for a Pro-Am driver.
It is, but John Williams has, done really well in qualifying. We saw him up in P4, I think, at Interlagos overall as well. So he does, do quite well when it comes to his qualifying results. And unfortunately, he's lost that lead, but only for now. Mark Bailey kind of botting side by side down the pit straight as they head in towards the first chicane. Mark Bailey on the outside. Is he going to be brave enough on the brakes? It seems to be the case. The BMW trying it to the outside. The corner botting gives him the space going into turn two, though that outside line straighter exit gets the drive off the corner and retains that fourth place, at least for now. You can definitely get the sense though that Connor Botting really struggling on pace relative to everyone around him.
He's just struggling, especially compared to previous weeks as well, where he has been very strong in the past. Stuart Reynolds on the defensive again here for second place. This is going to be a fight right to the end. I thought we were going to see something like this for the race win overall, but that doesn't look like it's going to happen. It looks like Neil Butler has got this one under control as we hit the exact halfway mark in this race right now. 7 laps in. Whether we're going to get 7 more in the second half of this one, or 8, it remains to be seen. But Stuart Reynolds will want it to be 7 as short as possible, please, because he's under a lot of pressure now. Callum Peeman and Kieran Smart all over him. But Porsche just pulls to the outside, can't really go anywhere there, and Kieran Smart going to try and get himself involved, but couldn't really. Stuart Reynolds needs to repeat that many more times though to hang on to the second place.
Yeah, he's been under a ton of pressure. We've cut back to a fight for the bottom fringes of the top 10 amongst some of the AMs between Glenn Humberstone, Carl Pearce and Oliver just in front in that Ferrari, or that BMW actually I should say. And of course I believe that Ferrari is a bit of traffic. Tony Norbrand as well, still fighting and trying to hang on, I think, actually, from Franken behind. He's going to dart to the inside of the Parabolica. Beautifully done, though it is going to leave him susceptible to a counter-attack down the pit straight if he's not careful. A lot of fights starting to materialise up and down the field. So Slipstream here at Monza keeping everything close.
It is Lewis Bouvier trying to get away on his own now, but Dirk Bouts and James Thwaites don't look like they're going to let that happen too quickly. We'll see if it does through the first them side by side again. Didier Vlamic now involved here. He's inside the top 5 as Stuart Reynolds gets just pushed outside of it, and Juho Huutonen is now here as well. Oh dear, somebody's off there. Could have been Romano. Could have even been Lucas Romano who was off there through Lesmo 2. Still up there right now. It does look like Romano may have been the one to go off. Juho Huutonen's off now at Ascari. He's going down the order. Not sure if he's been around into... Oh, he has. He's actually down at Lesmo 2. And it's all going on here. Chris Packer's in... Sorry, Simon Dodd's in the wall. And this is all on the straight. Goodness knows what's been going on here. Because there's cars everywhere. Alex Bomberg's going backwards as well. There's been an absolute mess back in the Pro-Ams.
Yeah, we're going to have to take a second look at that and just see as to what's going on. Martin Buchan, the Scotsman, trying to just find his way through. We'll see as we follow with Diede Vlaming going into the second. Lesmo gets a little bit wide. You can see a car already onto the gravel, though. The Belgian gets the worst of it, darts into the side of the Mercedes of Juho Huhtinen, who bows his way back onto the circuit. And I think this kerfuffle maybe sorts it. Oh, my word, that is sketchy to say the least. Vlaming just cutting off the orange and black BMW as they run their way towards Ascari. That certainly was a little bit sketchy for my liking, but just an awkward ordeal overall, really, as we cut back to the fight amongst some of the pros between Thomas Reiter, Chris Chatterton, Kieran Smart. This fight is still going on, and also between Reynolds and Beeman. That gap's grown too.
Certainly has. I wonder if Beeman and Smart have had a real big battle here, because Smart, after challenging for second, is now down outside the top 5 for the first time in this race. Vlaming pulling wide around the Curva Grande there to serve a slowdown, you'd imagine, but he's got no boot at the minute. Can't carry anything in that car right now. There's a big hole in the back, yeah, that's going to be affecting the rear downforce, and not in a good way either. He wants straight line speed around Monza, but that is a bit extreme. So yeah, he's going to have to even soldier on with that or get it repaired. This is now the fight for third place. It looks like Callum Beeman, it looks like Stuart Reynolds has been able to get away. Can he catch Neil Butler though? The gap's only a second. 9 minutes to go. There may well still be time for some drama for the overall lead.
For sure, definitely. We're going to take a look as to their lap times on that previous lap. We're going to say a 47.4, actually, no, they've just crossed the line. 47.3 for Neil Butler, 46.9 for Stuart Reynolds, 0.4 of a second on that previous lap. The gap now just fringing over a second, and this definitely could start to heat up. As soon as Reynolds gets a hit in a slipstream, he's then going to close that gap, latch onto the rear wing of the Porsche, and we still could have a showdown finale. Also in amongst the Pro-Ams, Limahan and John Williams are still very close, separated by just half a second. Lucas Romano on the back of Thacker as well. Oh my word, going around there. That's Ashraf El Haddad in the twisted Porsche, and getting it all sorts of wrong. A very easy corner to get wrong is Parabolica, because you're carrying in so much speed relative to how tight that corner really is. And as soon as it opens up on the exit, it is just so easy, especially in a Porsche, to loop it round.
It's tricky. It's a tricky car, especially on power like that, going out of Ascari. Here's Lucas Romano trying to recover from a poor qualifying by his standards. Down the inside of Chris Thacker he goes. He's up into third now. He's really reducing the damage that John Williams could do to him on a day like today. Only 11 points separate them coming into this race. Coming a bit of a two-horse race there, especially with third place Stuart Reynolds out of the picture. Romano is just showing exactly why he is, championship leader at the moment. He may not have the best pace of anyone. He may not have the fastest car, but he can grind out a result, and that's exactly what he's doing in this race right now.
Yeah, that's what's important. That's what defines a champion, is to recover well and to make the most of the off days. Everyone has off days, you're only human, but when you can have an off day and make it seem like it's not an off day, that's when you really know you've got some good pace. John Williams has been on a string of form, but Lucas Romano has still kept him honest. Carl Pearce now fighting with Glenn Humberstone and having a look to the inside of the Roger. He's going to be a little bit half-hearted going in, and that is going to discourage the Porsche really committing. Goes a little bit wide, does Glenn Humberstone, and that allows Pearce through fairly easily. This is Lewis Bouvier under pressure, under a lot of pressure really from Dirk Bounce. That gap really has closed, and Lewis Bouvier's hope of an easy race win have really started to crumble down.
Well, I'm most surprised that Dirk Bounce has been able to bridge that gap on his own. I was expecting him to do it with the help of James Slates, and they can do it together to become a trio for the lead, but that hasn't happened. Bounce has done it on his own here, and Lewis Bouvier under a lot of pressure himself now. He's going to protect the inside line, but just how much does he need to protect here? Bounce does not really want to go to the right hand side there and go over the white lines. He's going to try and squeeze Bouvier as much as possible though, down that pit exit road as much as he possibly can. Can he be later on the brakes as well? Possibly. Bouvier thought about chopping across him there, but it wasn't going to be able to. And Dirk Bounce, now he's going to take the lead in now with only 6 minutes to go. That could be a very, very important pass, but Connor Botting is probably one of the most pleased drivers to see that one on the field.
Potentially so, but look out for the counter-attack down and towards the Roger. Dirk Bounce having to go defensive. Boubier forced to the right-hand side. It will be the outside, not really the place you want to be, but we've seen some very brave moves from Boubier. He's going to give it a go, goes in a bit too deep, and that could ruin his chance for a counter-attack, at least over the next couple of moments. A great move from Dirk Bounce to the outside of the Rettifilio chicane. Lewis Boubier, unfortunately, having to relinquish that race lead. But as you say, Lewis Boubier's Prime Motorsport teammate of Connor Botting is going to be delighted to see that. It's only one place, but in a championship as close as that one, in a season as close as this one place means everything. And yeah, that is definitely going to be to the delight of his teammate of Connor Botting. Back to this fight though amongst the Pro-Ams, because John Williams still putting some pressure on Liam Mahan. Is he just a little bit too far back? Is Liam Mahan doing everything he can to keep Williams at bay?
Well, let's see. Williams could well be waiting for the moment to strike here. See him just, well, faking to the inside, but it wasn't fake this time. It's very real. Oh, and Liam Ahern makes side-to-side contact with him. Williams went very deep under brakes there and did all he could to get Ahern to give in, and he looks like he's managed to do that now with less than 5 minutes to go. Ahern is going to have to give it to him, but now we've got the debate about where you want to be going into the final lap. We always have this debate at places like Monza, at places like Spa and Daytona, and these kind of circuits where the draft is so effective, especially on iRacing. Where do you want to be on the final lap? Liam Ahern may well be happy to sit in second place until the last lap.
Maybe so. Maybe that is sort of the game he wants to play, but we've seen that you can defend at Monza. It's not like Daytona. Oh, a bit of a twitch from Liam Mahan. It might be second place. It might be the better position, but he is now a couple of car lengths back. He still has a couple laps to try and recover, but Monza's not quite like Daytona. It's not got that massive long run to the line. It's from Parabolica, and then only a little bit, only a couple of 100 meters until the start-finish line. We will have to sort of wait and see how this one works itself out, but you can defend, you can park the car, and you can stay in front, retaining that track position. I think that's what John Williams is riding on the fact that he can try and park that car and hope that Liam Mahan doesn't slingshot past him come that final lap. But again, it's a risk for both of them to take.
It certainly is, and there's a bit of risk involved here as well. Francois Pedro has done a very good job actually to recover from what we saw from him earlier on. It was a real mess down into Ascari, but he's inside the top 5 now for the Pro-Ams. Oh dear, that's someone all over the place there in the foreground. I don't know who that is, but struggling like you wouldn't believe. I think that could be Louis Gardner. No, probably not. Stuart Reines, I think it is, actually. Who's really struggling, or was. As John Williams just protects the inside line ever so slightly. Hearn doesn't go through. This is a replay of Glenn Humberstone, much further down in the Anfield. This isn't. It's just about chucking it in a bit too fast into Lesmo 1, and that's the third driver that's been collected by that wall in this race.
Yeah, it's a tricky corner. Again, it's not one you're having to heavy brake for, and it's not one that you can take flat out. You do have to sort of have a balance going through, and if you get it slightly wrong, it is quite easy to loop the car around, especially again in a temperamental car such as the Porsche that we have seen the likes of Mercedes loop it around here. It is just a pretty tricky corner, and that is to be seen by the tyre tracks the left hand side of the circuit. But anyway, riding on board with Liam Ahern as he chases after the Eclipse Racing BMW of John Williams just in front, coming into now the final 2 minutes of this race. I think the next lap is going to be the final lap of this race, so they've got one more lap, only a couple more opportunities really in this race. Is Liam Mahan in the best position to take the victory? I think his main opportunity is going to be that final run down and towards Rettifilio.
Well, let's see. Is he going to leave it till there? Is he going to wait a bit longer? We'll see just how many more laps this race runs for as well now. Neil Butler's been caught by Stuart Reynolds. The gap 7 tenths of a second, and Albin Kjellberg's in the pit lane. I wonder if he's under fueled here. Is this going to be the last lap or not? It remains to be seen, but Columbine is down the inside. Thomas Reiter down to 4th. And what will John Williams do here when they don't know if this is the last lap or not? It could get very difficult, so Liam Ahern might just try and go for this anyway. Let's see. Williams doesn't feel the need to protect the inside line anymore, although he is just pulling past one of the BMWs out the pit lane. And he won't need to defend. That was Albin Kjellberg, by the way, who has now dropped to 10th place. He will still benefit from the reverse grid, but he's very lucky that he still will. I think he's on the field in this race.
Maybe so, but yeah, it is tricky to get the strategy. That's a BMW doing all sorts of weird things down the pit straight, but all three leads we have a fight for between the pros, pro-ams and the AMs. Dirk Bout still fighting with Lewis Boubier coming into the final 35 seconds of this race, I should say. It's really boiling down to this, and with only a sort of about half a lap left to go, it remains to be seen who's going to come out on top. It's going to be very, very close to the line.
Certainly is. Stuart Reynolds may well just run out of laps here. 20 seconds to go. Are they going to get to the line or not? Liam Ahern side by side with Stuart Reynolds, who doesn't get a very good run off of Lesmo 2 at all. And Albin Kjellberg's going to push him to this one, baby. Let's see. Liam Ahern can't quite get through. I wonder if he was lifting off there and just waiting. A few seconds remaining. Are they going to cross the line in time? They're not. Stuart Reynolds is not going to get his chance. Neil Butler's going to win this one. Just at the end, 1/10 of a second. Stuart Reynolds needed one more lap. Callum Beeman just about able to get there for third, and I was wondering if Liam Ahern was expecting one more lap there, because he's left it too late now. I think John Williams is going to have this one, and that will really help his championship challenge. Just closing that leading margin down to just 7 points at the end of this race. It's going to be side by side to the line. Ahern's going to pull alongside, but it's 1/10 of a second. He can't get there. Lucas Romano didn't quite get there either, although he was close. Dirk Bounce is going to have to battle to the line with this one as well, as Lewis Boubier is going to try and get through. He's going to weave around outside, inside. He can't go either way, I don't think. He looks like he's going to have to settle for second here, but he will still gain some points on Connor Botting there by the looks of things. That gap also is going to come down to 7 points in the championship. In the end, all three leading battles were separated by less than half of a second.
Wow. Yeah, that is Monza for you, ladies and gentlemen. What a race we've just seen here for race 1. We get to do it all over again for race 2, double the time, and of course reverse the top 10. I'm taken aback by that race. It was really, really good to have all three categories separated by such a slim margin. Tells everything you need to know about this season so far, with how close it has been. And from the majority of them, they've had, well, actually for all of them, they've had some inkling of a championship implication, between Neil Butler, Stuart Reynolds, a direct fight between John Williams and Liam Ahern. That also is a direct fight in terms of Lucas Romano and where he finished, and of course that fight amongst the AMs, because Connor Botting did not want his teammate of Lewis Boubier getting any more points than he needed to. So yeah, that again, it speaks volumes about this season.
Absolutely, and this circuit as well. Neil Butler wins by a quarter of a second by the end. Just Stuart Reynolds ran out of laps to get through. Callum Beeman and Thomas Reiter also battled to the line, with Kieran Smart running out the top 5. Chris Janderson was sick of Lee Holmes. Then it was Andy Miller, Harry Wills and Albin Kjellberg who will benefit from the reverse grid. Jonas Dreyer was 11th. Louis Gardner and Thomas Dandridge were next. Ayush Yomatas rounding out the 14 driver grid there. I believe they will all get points from that one, actually. John Williams will win this one by 1/10 of a second in Pro-Am. Liam Ahern second, and Lucas Romano third. Chris Thacker 5 seconds back in fourth, with Edward Packer rounding out the top 5. Francois Pedro just missed out in the end. He was battling with Martin Booking right till the end. Jeremy De Boy, Alex Bomberg and Nestor Haddad round out the top 10. Michael Patterman, Didier Vlamink and Dean Timms were the final drivers on the lead lap. Stuart Reiner, Simon Dodd and Juho Huutonen did not finish the race, or didn't cross the line at least. And the winner in Am is Dirk Bounce. 3/10 of a second ahead of Lewis Boubier. Tim States and Connor Botting were next, and Navarro De Boy running at the top 5. It was Jerome Rains in 6th, Gus Frank in 7th, Alistair Hatchett in 8th, Mark Oliver and Carl Pearce running at the top 10. Glenn Humberstone, the final driver on the lead lap. Tony Norgran just a lap down, with Kurt Van Hoenacker as well as Mark Bailey, who was 5 laps down by the end of that race. So that's it for race 1. We'll bring in Pro-Am winner John Williams to talk to us now. John, congratulations first of all on your qualifying performance, which I think shocked everybody. Were you expecting the race to be quite as close as that, though, as a result of your qualifying, or did you think you were going to have an easier time?
Hey guys, no, I'll never think I'll have an easy time. Not with Liam behind me, he's too quick. And the draft just kept him close, and at one point I thought he was going to work with Lewis to pull away from me, but I don't know what happened, but I managed to get by. I think Lewis might have had a problem, and then I took my chance to. It was a bit of a dive to get the P1 back, but it was clean. That's all that matters.
Certainly was, and it was a good fight between you two in the end. You mentioned there that the draft keeps everything very close together here, and that is going to be true in the second race. Do you expect it to be a difficult challenge for you to get through the field, or do you think you'll be fine?
I think strategy. I think I'm going to have to do a bit of strategy because of the toe. I think maybe box early, and we'll see what that takes us.
We certainly will. Very much look forward to it. John, congratulations on race 1 victory, and good luck for the second one. Thanks very much. There we have John Williams, victorious in race 1 in Pro-Am. And I want to bring in Juho Huutonen as well from that one. Unfortunately, couldn't get to the end. Juho, thanks for joining us nevertheless. Just talk us through a little bit about what went wrong in that race. You unfortunately retiring after an incident just out of Lesmo 2. Just tell us a bit about what happened.
I think that there was, I don't remember the guys with 2 BMWs, they were fighting and the one went to the sand and came back directly in front of me, and I looked on the replay and it was lag hit, but my car was totaled on that hit, so that end of that story. So
it's a real shame for you once again, I'm afraid, to get involved in bad luck. What do you think you can do now from obviously starting quite a long way down the field in this second race? What do you think you can achieve in this one?
I think that the whole week what I have done in racing or the practice sessions, I think that my heavy or the long race setup is the best one of these. I think that I was just laughing on our Discord that I did on the warm-up lap faster time than on my qualifying lap. So let's see what can be done. The overtaking is pain in the ass here, so I have to maybe take some risks, but let's hope for the best.
Let's hope so. Juho, good luck for race 2 coming up now, and thanks very much for coming to have a chat with us.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks very much, Juho Huutonen, hoping for a bit of a better race 2 than what he had in race 1. That is going to do us for the first part of this broadcast. We're going to take a short break now, but when we return, race 2 will be coming up, the reverse grid 50-minute race, so stay with us.
Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
Hit that.
Welcome back to Monza for race 2 here this evening. The top 10 reverse grid, 50 minutes coming up from the Temple of Speed. There are just 7 races to go now in this championship that's getting ever more exciting with every race that goes by. My name is Ian O'Leary. I'm still alongside Zach Sweeney for this one. We saw some interesting developments in the last one, Zach. The Pro Championship lead has extended to 17 points, but the Pro-Am and Am Championships have decreased to 7 points. It's still all to play for here, really.
It is. It's scary that you say there's only 7 races left. It has gone by so quickly. Of course, we do have the break week after Mosport, but even then, it's gone so quick. Where has this season gone? But yeah, really looking forward to sort of the final stretch of this season and to see who will come out on top in terms of the championship. But we focus here at Monza because, yeah, there are still some big storylines starting to develop, especially over the course of race 1, where all 3 of our races were decided by less than half a second, and all 3 had some form of championship implication in the mix as well. It's just been so telling of this season and how close the championship has been, and I'm sure race 2 is going to be no different because that reverse grid really spices things up.
Let's not forget, in a big change from what we saw last season, the drop week can no longer be taken on the last week as it could have been last season. I don't know if anybody did actually, but that was possible last time. It's not this time, so we'll have a much more exact idea of quite what's going on the final race this season, as opposed to last, where we were scrambling a little bit trying to figure out quite what the hell was going on. But that won't be going on once again. The admins acknowledged last season that was a bad idea, really. So they couldn't change it for that season, of course. They've already made the rules for that one, but they could change it for the next one, which they have done and will be doing for the final round. That's at Bathurst this season, by the way. We've got Daytona to come before then. That comes after the break week you just mentioned there, which is obviously after Mosport on the 30th of November. We went through, in another actually change from last season, we went through a race on week 13 last season, and it's quite difficult to organise races on week 13, really, so, or it is on our racing. So it's a bit of a week off for everybody, commentators and drivers alike. I know I don't have much to do that week because it's week 13. And nobody was racing. Everyone just getting ready for the new iRacing build, which has come out, or more details being released about it at the minute. Zach, the GT3. My goodness me, that was an accident. Well, anyway, there's been some changes to the GT3's tyre wear, going to be more of a factor, possibly even in these races coming up very soon. But we'll wait and find out on that one, because yeah, we've got race 2 coming up very soon. We'll get the correct grid up for you, and we'll get underway with it. It's going to be Albin Kjellberg on the pole position, just ahead of Harry Wills, who will be alongside him. Andy Miller and Lee Holmes will share row 2, with Chris Jansen running out top 5. Kieran Smart will be sick for Thomas Wright and Callum Beeman. Stuart Reynolds and Neil Butler are those that got reversed during the previous race. Esravel Haddad will be on pole in Pro-Am. Then it's going to be Alex Bomberg, followed by Jeremy De Boyver. Martin Booking going to be 4th, and Francois Peugeot running out the top 5. Edward Packer will be 6th. Chris Thacker and Lucas Romano will be sharing row 4 with Liam Ahern and John Reynolds, set to resume their battle from race 1 at the beginning here of race 2. And then finally in the Am field, we've got Carl Pearce, I think it is first, ahead of Mark Oliver. It is indeed. Alistair Hatchett and Gus Franklin will share row 2. Jerome Rains will be 5th ahead of Navarro de Boyver. Connor Botting will be 7th ahead of James Slitz and Lewis Bouvier. And it'll be Dirk Bouts rounding out the top 10 there. We've got the championship contenders in the pack for this one, which is going to make it all the more interesting over the next 50 minutes. So the drivers are going to make their way through Ascari and towards the end of this lap, and so they'll be able to get this race underway very shortly. 50 minutes coming up, and well, what are we going to see from here throughout the next portion of this one? 7 races to go, as I mentioned, 6 after this one. Sport, Daytona and Bathurst still coming up, but it's the final European leg of this season. Somewhat remarkably, given that we've still got all this time remaining, utilising some circuits outside of Europe for once, which is a good thing. But this circuit, absolutely fantastic one. Monza, how quickly, sorry, how closely is the field going to stay together throughout this race is the question really. It didn't do quite as much as I was expecting in race 1, but with the faster drivers arguably further down the field this time around, will that change things just ever so slightly? We'll find out as the pace car pulls in and Albin Kjellberg becomes in control of the field. He will be looking to convert, and he will feel he has to convert from a situation like this as he's starting to slip behind to over 30 points back now in this championship. It's a long way down for a driver like him, but he could pull it back, and it would start today. The lights go out and we go green flag racing again. Albin Kjellberg maintaining a more defensive line for longer than what we've seen in the past, just making sure that nothing silly happens in towards turn number 1. He's going to take charge into the Rettifilio side by side between Harry Wills and Andy Miller. They all get through there cleanly at the first time of asking, as Ashraf El Haddad gets them to the line very slowly in the Pro-Ams. See the AMs almost nipping at their heels straight away here. El Haddad's going to finally go for it though, and Bomberg will slip into line with him. The top two will get away from the rest of the field. Behind, it is going to be a little bit more cramped, and everybody going to try and find a way through. It looks like nobody's forcing it pretty wide really, which has really helped in these two starts. 5 starts now we've seen, and everybody's got through cleanly. We'll see if we can get the 6th and final one through cleanly. We've had an entirely clean start at Monza, which would be absolutely remarkable. Let's see if it happens. Carl Pearce down in towards turn 1 on the pole here, over a minute after the pros. He'll get in there with Alistair Hatcher in second, and it looks like we have indeed had clean starts. Oh, it's all for the end as Navarro de Boiva gets involved with Lewis Boubier and Dirk Boutz. I think that was 3 wide doesn't often work, and that's exactly why we've been seeing the drivers limiting themselves to 2 wide throughout most of the day so far.
Spoke just a little bit too soon, just a couple of seconds later, and it would have been just perfectly timed. But no, we almost had 2 clean starts. Oh my word, that's Kieran Smart very aggressively darting to the inside of Harry Wills, who's had an absolute shocker of a start getting underway here at Monza. He's going to have to tuck in behind the BMW, but for Albin Kjellberg, he needs to grab this opportunity with both hands. Harry Wills trying to get underneath the Porsche as they barrel their way down the pit straight once again to round off lap number 1 of this 15-minute reverse grid race number 2. Is Harry Wills going to be able to stay in front of Kieran Smart? We'll have to wait and see. They've also got Thomas Reiser just in front, cutting back to the fight for P3 amongst some of the Pro-Ams. Martin Buchan trying to put some pressure on Jeremy de Boiva down in towards the Parabolica, but unfortunately it is not going to come to fruition. Again, just cutting through all the action, because here comes Lewis Boubier to the outside of Ascari on Mark Oliver, gets tagged round, and oh my word, that is very well saved from the BMW. Oh no, it's not. He's into the barrier. That is so close to having a hero moment.
Well, I hope that wasn't Netco, because that was the biggest gap between 2 cars I've ever seen. But let's see. We're not going to see too much from here. We're going to see the save, and there it is from Mark Oliver. Nearly, as you say, nearly a hero. But maybe the damage didn't serve him too greatly on the exit of Ascari there. If that was Netco, then I'll be very unimpressed, and so will Mark Oliver, you'd imagine. There has been a few incidents in Pro-Am that we're seeing now as well. I'm trying to see who's really been involved here. Looks like Simon Dodd has been one of them, and John Williams is all of a sudden at the back of the field here. Lucas Romano may have been involved. Let's see. That's John Williams, I think, trying to head down. He's inside. The 2 of them side by side, but Williams goes straight into the side of Francois Pertrau. He was trying to make a move there on his championship rival, but John Williams with a huge miscalculation that's going to cost him heaps of points in this championship.
Huge mistake there from John Williams into the pit lane on this lap as well. Really did kick off. Luckily for Lucas Romani, was able to carry on, still running well in P8 and still got a chance over the course of this race. This is Jeremy de Boiva looking to the inside of Alex Bomberg into Ascari, gets completely cut off by the rear end of that Audi, and fairly so. Going back to the AMS, Connor Botting making some good progress through the field up into P4, 3 places ahead of his teammate and championship rival of Lewis Boubier. But again, this train is so close, and they have to really stay in tow, because Gus Franken does not want to get away at all. This is what, now a 7-car fight for the lead, and when we have sort of the mix and match of pace differentials across the field, really is going to sort of naturally bring these cars close together, and that's why we've got these trains.
It certainly is. It's an interesting one for the minute. As the pack stays together, Gus Franken might have a chance to get away there, but not too much. Albin Kjellberg certainly has at the front of the overall field, and that's no surprise. We're back with likes of Neil Butler right now, who's actually gone backwards on this start. Stuart Reynolds has made up a couple of places, but Neil Butler's gone backwards here as Stuart Williams makes his way down the inside of Flaming. Well, that's Lucas Romano. He's made his way down the inside. I'm surprised to see Romano struggling to make his way through. Juho Huhtanen's got damage onto his car. It looks like race 2 hasn't gone too greatly for him. What's going to happen here in the AMS as well? This is a lot more disorganised than what we saw in race 1, which is quite mundane compared to this. Outside line for your own reigns even on Alistair Hatcher, who looks like he's trying to stay out of the way of everybody more than anything here. He's been able to do that, but this has just turned the aggression levels up a notch here. The craziness has just increased a whole nother level in this race.
It's been amped up to sort of a factor of 10, I think. Everyone is so desperate to make these moves. Carl Pearce now looking to the inside of his fellow Audi, in towards the Roger. Same two, Connor Botting and James States running side by side. Here comes Lewis Boubier, a little bit deep, caught out by Carl Pearce, returning to the racing line, I think, and then had to dip to the runoff area. Coming back to the pros, Albin Kjellberg 2 seconds clear of Chris Chatterton, really doing well with his reverse grid pole position. And now we're on board with Thomas Reiter having a look with his fight now, side by side between Liam Mahan and Didier Vlaming. We're seeing a lot of these moves, brave people to the outside of Ascari. It's something we don't often see, but they're making it work.
It is quite brave, but Liam Mahan was able to make it work there. Of course, he was second in that first race to John Williams, and may be able to get himself back in the championship fight if Williams really just stay in that pit lane for a long time. Waiting to hear really what damage is like for John Williams there. He's still in the pit lane after nearly 3 minutes now. Louis Gardner also still in pit lane, but I'm afraid he has a retirement after only 1 lap in this race. The only driver to have been in so far from the pro field, as James Slates makes his way down the inside of Connor Botting, who somehow is already fighting inside the podium places. This is great news for his championship, as Lewis Boubier continues to battle down there in 7th place.
Connor Botting has always been good at making his way forward. It's been one of his many attributes over the course of this season, is maximising the overtakes, very aggressive and very well poised in making these moves. Now to the inside of Slates. Is he going to be able to make this one work, or is the BMW going to try and go to the outside, back up the inside for the second part of the Rettifido chicane? But once again, we're seeing the acceleration of the Audi on that outside line now. Johan Reigns wants to get into the mix. Alistair Hatcher not too far back, but meanwhile, all this is doing is allowing Lewis Boubier back into the mix. There's Lee Holmes going slow in the Mercedes. We cut back to this fight amongst some of the AMs though, because this start really is chaotic in the opening 10 minutes.
That was nearly 3 wides. That's too far down the inside there for James Slate, so he's gone far too deep, and Connor Botting realises that. He's going to get the inside for Lesmo 1, and he should get through now with Jeroen Reigns in there as well. Inside maybe. No, it doesn't look like that's going to happen. Oh well, maybe again, but it's going to be a no. On that occasion, Lee Holmes was the driver who ended up in the wall here, and this was all going very wrong for him. Over the curb on the Mercedes, smashes into the wall, and that's going to do quite a lot of damage to him and drop him quite a long way down the order there on that occasion. And, same with Juho Huhtanen as well, who's not having a particularly good day.
When is it a good day for Juho Huhtanen? I mean, he had a good result back in Canada a week ago. He got a P4, could have been a podium, but it's back to old ways. I'm sure, unfortunately for the Finns, spinning around at the Ascari chicane now, getting back going again, but back in P15. Really has just been unable to get his season, really been unable to get his season underway properly, and is always sort of plagued by some misfortune. But anyway, we have to focus on what's going on in the live action, because once again, side by side between James Slates and Connor Botting, Johan Reigns still trying to find a way through. Is he going to make it 3 wide, or is that just a little bit too eager to ask for? The Audi trying to push the BMW of Slates through on the outside now with his fellow Audi of Connor Botting. Is he going to make that one stick in too deep? Or the BMW jumps over the curb? That's surely got to be a slowdown.
It's going to be a slowdown. It's going to put him down loads of places. Even, this train goes all the way down to 9th, but it wasn't a huge cut, so not a huge slowdown, and James Slates may have gotten away with that remarkably. But you can argue amongst yourselves whether he should be able to, but that's what has been permitted there as Stuart Reynolds gets down the inside, and Albin Kjellberg is all of a sudden back in the pack. What's happened here to Albin Kjellberg? A really unprecedented opportunity for him to get back into this championship, and he might have thrown it all away here. Kieran Smart has been given the slipstream of him as well, so Stuart Reynolds is not going to be able to get through. This is why Albin Kjellberg, from a big lead, has, well, that was a brief off track, but that's not why he's lost the lead. This is Chris Chatterton. That's Albin Koenig. He went wide. And that's a really strange place to go off. He must have caught the grass on the brakes down there, maybe.
Potentially so, because yeah, as you say, it's not often a place, Parabolica, where you go straight on, but for Albin Kjærberg, it was misfortune at Canada. It's now even misfortune here in Monza, unfortunately making that mistake all by himself. Down into P4, still in the fight, so it's not all over until it's over, but it's definitely going to make his life a lot harder in this race. Dirk Bowers, wow, really trying to get into the mix there, side by side in towards the Parabolica. Oh my word! And it's turned into very wide, and oh wow, that again is just kicking off in the end.
That was Carl Pearce going straight into the back there of Dirk Bouts. I think that was it. Yeah, it was indeed. Third place in the championship. Dirk Bouts had a good run in the first race, but he's been shoved into the wall there at maximum speed. This is side by side for second with Alex Bomberg trying to hold off Chris Packer down the inside of everybody here, and he might well get second. 3 wide into Lesmo 1. Oh, it's too tight for comfort. Oh dear me, Alex Bomberg very nearly didn't make it there. He saved it. He's down to 4th, but that was amazing from Chris Packer. 3 wide into Lesmo 1. You very rarely see that.
If ever. I've never seen a 3-wide moment down in towards Lesmo 1. It's so brave, borderline maybe stupid between them, but hey ho, they've all managed to get on side by side in towards Ascari. That is soaring around the outside there of the outside of Jeremy de Boiver from Packer. Brilliantly done. We cut back to this fight for second amongst the pros because Thomas Reiter eyeing up the move on the very sluggish Ferrari down the pit straight. Now to the outside of the Rettifilo is Miller, brave enough on the brakes to keep the Porsche at bay. Now to the outside of turn 2. Is he going to get the same drive that we see sometimes from Connor Botting in the Audi? The answer to that is no. Albin Kjærberg once again right into the mix here for second place, but meanwhile Chris Chatterton using this to get away.
Certainly is. 2.3 seconds now. Andy Miller's going to try and get through on Thomas Reiter, who hangs it in the middle of the road, and it was probably a good idea in the end. He didn't need to defend fully. Albin Kjærberg watches on from behind. It's going to allow Stuart Reynolds to close up here and connect these groups as well. Neil Butler's managed to just hang on to the coattails of this as well. He's managed to get in with this group, and so that's exactly where he needs to be right now. But I think John Williams' thoughts about strategy being important in this race from now on are going to be very important indeed, because earlier we spoke to him and he said that a very, very important thing, strategy, because overtaking and actually making an overtake stick can be can be difficult. It's so easy to get re-overtaken by a driver you've just passed.
It is. Again, it's, you get past straight away. They're in the slipstream straight away. They're poised to launch a counter attack, as we've seen time and time again. As we're seeing with these trains, what we got: Thomas Reiter, Miller, Kjærberg, Reynolds, Smart, Wills, Butler, Beeman, Dreyer and Yamantas all in this fight from second all the way down to 11th. It's a long train, and getting past 1 does not mean you've consolidated that position at all. And yeah, you really are going to have to play the strategy game. You are going to have to play your cards right. Here comes Albin Kjærberg, the Swede, on a charge on redemption for not only this race but also for his championship in the slipstream of Thomas Reiter. Outside line again for the Rettifilo that didn't quite work out for Miller last time. There's Kieran Smart having a bit of a dart to the inside of Stuart Reynolds as well, and that's Kjærberg now back up into 3rd place.
Yeah, it's certainly lower than where he'd want to be at this stage, considering he was leading earlier on, of course. Calmed down a little bit in the Amfield. Connor Botting and Louis Bouvier involved in the same fight again. Louis Bouvier has done a good job actually at fighting his way forward towards those guys. This battle between Jeremy de Boiver, Alex Bomberg and Edward Packer still goes on right now. Alex Bomberg back to second maybe. He was at the front of this group not so long ago. He might have just restored his place there, although he's given himself a really tight line in turn 2, and he's not going to be able to do it through there now. Look, Edward Packer might fancy his chances, maybe. They're all going to tuck into line at the Curva Grande, and who knows where this is going to end. The Audi pulls to the outside line. We're not going to see 3 wide between these guys again, are we? Oh, we are! Oh dear, nearly. Edward Packer tried to go down the inside again there. That was a real cutting of the apex from Jeremy de Boiver, who throws it across the De La Roggia, and he manages to hold on to second. This is all allowing Esravel Haddad to now enjoy a nearly 8-second lead in Pro Am, as a similar fight is developing for second place in Pro.
Yeah, there's fights up and down across all three. It's brilliant to see. Monza is a circuit that will deliver. Anytime you come here, there's never a boring race here at the Temple of Speed. We cut back now to the AMS because Johan Reigns and Connor Botting are having a bit of a fight. We know the Audi is struggling a little bit on pace, but what he lacks in pace, he makes up for in his race prowess, in his racecraft, in his ability to cut through the traffic. And now all he's got to do is try and hang on to that third place. Stuart Reynolds now putting to the inside of Andy Miller, who unfortunately is taking a tumble through the pack, and the Mercedes now committed on the inside. Andy Miller having a look to the outside and of course into the inside of the second part of the chicane, but in doing so has slightly tarnished his momentum. And when that happens to when Andy Miller doing quite well up there in the timing order, once he gets overtaken once, it is just a case of falling down through the pack.
He is at the minute. This is a pretty car train right now. It's starting to settle down a little bit in AM, really. The real craziness going on in Pro, with at least the number of cars inside the top 10 all still very much involved. We have got Chris Chadton leading, by the way. He's up from 5th on the start. The lead right now by 2.5 seconds. Haven't seen much of him because he's just been out on his own. The action has been behind in those camera shots you can see in the background. Everybody else pretty much is involved. Nearly Thomas Dandridge involved there as well. You can see the movers and shakers, see who's been going forwards, who's been going backwards. It's a big mix and a big train as well. Quite a very large one, considering we're a quarter of an hour into this one already. It's not really split apart at all. Even the sprint race, even the 25-minute race was a little bit less chaotic than this.
Yeah, somehow they're keeping it all together. And as you say, with now 16 minutes into this race, usually we would see some degree of field spread, but that's not been the case, particularly in the pros and the AMs. It's awesome to see. We're not complaining one bit. Lewis Boubier trying to get onto the back of his teammate and bridge the gap, because the two teammates, while they are good friends, they are fighting tooth and nail for this championship. And yeah, well, he's only got one car between himself and his teammates. Back to the pros. Harry Wills making some good recovery, maybe up there in 6th place, trying to push Kieran Spartan through and maybe overtake him for 5th place. So that's well covered off by the BMW. Harry Wills showing some good pace. He just needs to not succumb to the same mistakes that were his downfall in race 1.
Yeah, just swung it a bit too hard into Lesmo 1 and spun around into the wall. Wasn't the only driver to do that in that first race, but it did cost him quite a lot of time, as Lucas Romano is having a big battle here with Francois Pertrat. It's really important for Romano to gain points on John Williams while he's in the pit lane here. It looks like he will be able to. So let's see. Stuart Wine is making it 3 wide into turn 1 now, and Romano's going to back out of that. Pertrat's going to back out of that. Romano is going to bank an 8th place. It's a double overtake there by Stuart Winers, who makes his way through on everybody, and there could be another one here, as it looks like Navarro de Boiva has been overtaken by a couple of drivers. That battle, by the way, for 3rd place, going all over the road. They even thought that, the timing thought that they were even pitting there. A lot going on there. As Alex Bomberg now tries to defend 3rd place. It looks like Jeremy de Boiva has been able to get away from this group, and Alex Bomberg is certainly the cork in the bottle.
Yeah, he's putting up a mighty defence just in front of Edward Packer and Michael Patman as well. He's doing a really, really good job and just showing that Monza can be quite difficult to overtake if you play your cards right. We are now approaching 20 minutes into this race, and this is where we are going to start to see a degree of strategy start to come in. This is where the early pit stoppers, if they want to come in, will sort of decide to come in. Of course, we've had a large range of pit strategy fluctuations over the course of this season, so we will have to wait and see what the decisions are here in Monza, side by side between Neil Butler and Andy Miller. Neil Butler making some slow but steady progress up through the field, and Andy Miller taking, well, a not so slow but steady drop through the pack. Unfortunately for him, it seems to be at least 1 position lost per lap, which is a shame for him. But we were having a look in the drivers chat just between the 2 races. He was complaining of a lack of straight line speed from that Ferrari, and well, that is the last thing you want at a track like Monza.
Yeah, and there's some straight line speed circuits at Daytona and Bathurst to come as well. Well, maybe not Bathurst, but certainly Daytona. And that's going to be a real struggle there as well. We've been talking about that a couple of times with a couple of drivers so far this season. Alex Bumberg once again getting attacked here into turn 1. And through goes Edward Packer. Oh dear, and Michael Patterman tries to follow. He goes around. It's a miscalculation, really. And he drops down to 9th place. It's a big opportunity here, Patterman, with Williams all the way down in 16th place. Patterman 4th in the standings. He could very much gain from this, but he's not going to gain doing stuff like this, I'm afraid. He pushed Edward Packer into a position to overtake Alex Monza. Tried to capitalise himself, but then got it all wrong. Not entirely sure if there was contact there or whether he did that on his own.
I think it was a little bit sort of, half-hearted from Patterman there to sort of have a look to the inside, because he was committing to the outside, then was like, okay, I'm going to go to the inside now. It was just a little bit of an awkward ordeal. Kieran Smart and Harry Wills running side by side through the parabolic, losing a lot of time though. Oh my word, that's a bit twitchy from the Mercedes. Still keeping his foot in on the outside though, getting the drive off and down the pit straight. He's not quite alongside, well he is now, he's about halfway alongside the BMW, just about squeezing his way and giving Kieran Smart the squeeze as they run side by side for 5th place. But you can see the gap starting to build between themselves and Kjellberg and Stuart Reynolds. Now late on the brakes goes the Mercedes though. Kieran Smart arguably even Bray. They're now to the outside. Is it too deep? Is Harry Wills going to have to go over the curb? Indeed he is. Going to emerge side by side still, but Smart with that drive and Neil Butler waiting in the wings. Could it be 2 positions lost for Harry Wills?
Right, it's going to be, oh dear, very close and all over the place here. Let's see. It's Neil Butler now with the chance here to get up the inside of Harry Wills, but he's not going to. Kieran Smart is going to be overtaken here, you'd imagine, into the De La Roggia, side by side again. And here's Neil Butler's chance. He's going to go free wide here. Harry Wills is all over the place. Oh, Butler tried to go to the inside of Kieran Smart. You could see that happening from a mile out, and still he was able to prevent it there, Kieran Smart, as everybody gets down the inside of Harry Wills now, including Callum Beatman, maybe, who just backs out of it at the end. Oyas Yomatas was there briefly as well. He got things slightly wrong in Telesmo 2 though, and he will drop a little bit further back now. But this is the battle for 5th place. They've very much seen the top 4 get away as a result of all this fighting.
Yeah, it was a lot more than 2 places lost for Harry Wills in the end of it. Now emerging in P8, which is, not the best in any situation. He's still got some hope of getting to the front of this train again. But for this train in general to get onto the back of Stuart Reynolds and the likes just in front, you can see Harry Wills already trying to make amends for it down the inside into the parabolic. That's late. Oh my word! Just about got it stopped. Danny Miller trying to go to the outside. Bit of door-to-door contact between the pair of them, and now Callum Beeman wants to get into the mix. They are going to come out of Parabolica side by side, and for Harry Wills it's just going from low to low really. He tries to redeem himself, he tries to get back into the mix, and in doing so just seems to trip up over himself and make it even worse.
Now Oyas Yomatas is in here. Not sure if that's damage related or whether he's making an early stop here to try and get out of a bit of trouble, a bit of traffic. It's not a bad idea. We have already seen Lewis Boubier in actually to try and avoid a bit of traffic. That was on lap 10. We're now at the end of lap 12. So Boubier clearly thinks he can go longer than half an hour here. He probably can actually, because you do get quite a lot of fuel. You just don't get 50 minutes worth for one of these races. Neil Butler's up to 5th place though. Went to isolate the battle to just himself and Kieran Smart. He found it a lot easier, and now he's into the top 5. But he's got to be wary of the fact that Albin Kjellberg and Stuart Reynolds are both 5 seconds up the road from him right now.
Yeah, but Neil Butler, after taking the win in race 1 and of course coming into this race with a bit of a lead, I'm not sure he's going to be too precious about sort of the 1 place gap between himself and Stuart Reynolds and the extra place between himself and Albin Kjellberg. Though the thing he has got to be wary about is Albin Kjellberg and Stuart Reynolds working their way towards the front of Chris Chatterton and working with Thomas Rutter. You can see the 3 of them bumper to bumper to bumper trying to close the gap to Chris Chatterton. That is what Butler has to be wary of, because when the gap is growing, he's sort of helpless in this situation and just has to sit back and hope that Albin Kjellberg and Stuart Reynolds don't make the gap even worse. But yeah, Butler just needs to do his best, because he got caught up in a bit of traffic earlier on, but you could argue that's his fault for not making his way through the pack as quick.
Side by side again, Harry Wills round the outside of Andy Miller there, and he's up to 8th place, or holds on to 8th place. Didn't quite see the start of that battle. Here's the one for 2nd, Thomas Reiter. Albin Kjellberg and Stuart Reynolds are working together here to decrease the advantage of Chris Chatterton, and it's certainly working. The gap now down to 1.5 seconds. I think we're going to get a 4-way battle for the lead very soon as Juho Huutonen goes off at the 2nd chicane.
Oh, we're going to take another look as to how this happened. It's again low to low for Juho Huutonen, caught up in a bit of an incident earlier on into the Roggia, just loops around on his own, no contact from the BMW behind, who I'm definitely sure is going to get a bit of a fright. brings it back in and is still on to the gravel. It's you do have to feel a little bit of sympathy for Juha Huhtinen, but regardless of which, fight for P5 here amongst P6, sorry, but amongst some of the pro-ams between Stuart Viners and Alex Bomberg, side by side in towards the first chicane. The Retafilo, Stuart Viners just able to get himself ahead under brakes, but Ashraf El Haddad really having a good race here, leading the way.
He very much is. He's benefited, of course, from the fighting behind, and now he's being caught by Jeremy De Boyver, but even so, he is putting in a good performance now. Getting on with this race away from all of the others. He's managed a second place in race 2 last week at Montreal, and a second place the week before as well in race 2. So is this week finally going to be his week? Because that's a couple of second places on the bounce now for him. This could very much be his time, but he is being chased down by Jeremy De Boyver behind. As you just saw in the AM category there, the leading margin. This is the fight for 5th place still going on. Neil Butler trying to get away from this, and with Callum Beeman now second in this group, he might be able to. The fighting very much dying down in this group. It's going to start to ramp up in that fight for 1st very soon. That's going to be the next interest, because Chris Jackson being reeled in at a rate of about 0.3 of a second a lap now.
Yeah, and of course, the closer they get, the more they gain. Naturally, because of the slipstream, that's a bit of a move there from Harry Wills, trying to get up the inside of Kieran Smart. He's going to try and make that one stick, but Smart is very, very aggressive in that BMW. And again, the outside line through turn 2 takes precedence as, again, Harry Wills comes out just in front and up into P7. This is how close it is. This is the Eclipse Racing BMW being chased down by the likes of Thomas Reiter, Albin Kjærberg, and Stuart Reynolds now. Bridging just over a second, and if they can get that just under a second, they are definitely going to start to gain and start to feel the effect. But Chris Chatterton all by himself, and he's got a pack of 3 cars closing in that mirror. That has got to be scary.
It certainly will be. It's a pretty daunting prospect. All those behind. 1.1 seconds now. Actually was nearly below a second in towards the De La Roggia. Didn't have quite a great run through there. Now needs the help, of course, of Kjellberg and Reynolds. Just shows you what happens though when you can reach an agreement as 3 drivers like this. There's one driver out on his own out front, then they really begin to struggle, and you begin to wonder whether they could have figured this one out in race 1, because they could have gotten Neil Butler back and Stuart Reynolds would have had a chance at the win in that case, as that's off in the background for Thomas Dandridge out of Ascari. He got things all wrong out of there, and there he is. He's ended up in the wall here, I'm pretty sure, and he's back to the pit lane, I'm afraid. Possibly 4th retirement of the race for them, and it's just these curbs at Ascari that have caught out another driver.
They are very tricky. It's a corner that you do have to flow through. As soon as you get the first apex right, you link it up to the second, then of course to the final flick to the left. And if you get one of them wrong, it just completely ruins your flow. And those sausage curbs on the inside are lethal. As Audi leaving the pit lane, just letting through the fight for 5th between Neil Butler and Callum Beeman. We focus our attention at the front. 27 minutes in and 23 to go. Chris Chatterton still being chased down there. That gap has stagnated around about 1 second. Though on that last lap, again, it's sort of averaging to be around 2 seconds. But coming out of the Retfield chicane, Thomas Reiter making some massive gains, and now it's game on.
Certainly is. The slipstream will now almost act as a safety net to Thomas Reiter. He knows that he doesn't have to do an awful lot now to stay in contention for a race win, although there will be the pit stop gains, of course. And the problem for Reiter is that he's closed the entirety of this gap on the front there. He's been towing Kjellberg and Reynolds right up to the back of Chatterton, and he can be sure that the 2 behind him have been saving fuel throughout this, so they may well have a shorter pit stop by the end. But that's for Reiter to worry about a little bit later on, and Chatterton maybe to worry about as well, because Jim Chatterton's been burning pretty much full fuel while he's been out on his own pretty much this entire race.
Yeah, he's had to do the full brunt force using the engine all by himself. Not had any slipstream or anything. No one to sort of rely on for some pace to be able to lift and coast like the likes of Albin Kjærberg and Stuart Reynolds. Chris Chatterton being so isolated out in front, which is both a blessing and a burden in some sense. It does mean that he might have to come in might have to come in earlier, or he's going to have to take a slightly longer pit stop when it does come to that, which could definitely be his downfall. But again, we'll only have to wait and see. We cut back to it. Is Thomas Reiter going to go for a dive on this lap, or is he going to be happy just to sit back? A little bit of a look just to pull out to the right, more to spot his braking point than anything. But you can see the advantage that Porsche has over the BMW through the rectifier chicane and emerging that slipstream. You have to argue it's only a matter of time before Thomas Reiter launches an attack.
See here, maybe he wants to preserve or even extend the gap to the group with being headed by Neil Butler right now. Maybe he wants to reduce this to a final 4 for the final 20 minutes, and he wants to get on with this. We'll see just how much cooperation there's going to be. I don't think he'll mind the extra little bit of fuel he might get from it as well here in this one, because he's now finally the one who can save a little bit. Butler's got a bit of a lapped driver in front of him right now as well. Right now, one of the Audis from the Anfield could be Louis Boubier, who made an earlier stop in this race to try and get in clean air and get back out front again. I'm not sure if he quite imagined this to be his clean air right in the middle of the pro field. He certainly did come in. Wonder if it was him, actually. There's been a number of drivers who have been in now. Your own range, Carl Pearson, also Mark Bailey have all been in so far from the Anfield, but no one more than that. Connor Botting now in, though. Connor Botting now makes his way into the pit lane, so that battle is really going to become very apparent very soon. Now as Botting comes out the pit lane, and we'll see where he is in relation to Louis Boubier as we just go over the half an hour mark now. Banton takes a tight line out of Parabolica, but he's not going into the pit lane just yet. But Stuart Reynolds is. It was only a matter of time before those games began.
Yeah, Stuart Reynolds is going to be by himself. Here comes the move from Thomas Reiter, though, has probably responded to the fact that Stuart Reynolds is in and wants to get some clear air, wants to drive by himself. Now to the inside of Chris Chatterton. He's got to make this move stick and leave and get away and try and use some clear air to not allow Stuart Reynolds to get the undercut versus him. And now Thomas Reiter has been released. Albin Kjellberg still has to find a way through Chris Chatterton, but you can definitely tell that the pit strategy games are going to play in full fruition throughout the rest of this race. Only 19 minutes left. They've waited a while to come into the pit lane, and you have to say that these three are going to be coming in a matter of time, only a couple of laps at least.
Connor Botting has come out up dead side by side with Louis Boubier on the exit of the pit lane there. Huge for the AM Championship, but it was Connor Botting who came out on top. Your own Reigns is not too far away from them either. There is Boubier, who got shuffled out there. They're in amongst the pro field as well, let's not forget. Botting just lets a couple of pro drivers through, and so they're right together again now, the two of them. Down the order right now, of course, but it could be important for the AM win and certainly the championship between those two, as there's only 7 points separating them right now. Very important race between those two, and there they are. Connor Botting going to have a real big defence on his hands, with your own Reigns just in behind there as well. You can see in the Audi, 3 Audis fighting over what could be the race win here. See if James Slates comes out in front of them, but on the exit of the pit lane it was so close. There's Botting out the pit lane. It was side by side between them. Botting was so late on the brakes into the first chicane and pushed Boubier across the corner, giving Boubier a slowdown penalty, I think. He had to let through those pro cars as well. That'll be a controversial one between those two.
Oh, God, rule of racing is not bash into your teammate, but I think there's some allowances when you're fighting your teammate for a championship. They are going at it. They are very desperate. I mean, not even only a week ago, they were working together to try and consolidate a 1-2, but now they're throwing that out the window. They are fighting for this potential victory and, of course, the AM Championship as well. It'll be very, very interesting to see how it develops, and still the strategy amongst the pros also to take into account. Albin Kjellberg is in and out of the pit lane, but Thomas Reiter and Chris Chatterton continue on their way, still out in front, yet to come into the pit lane. Same to with Neil Butler, Callum Beeman, Harry Wills, Kieran Smart and Andy Miller are yet to take a stop as well. This is Louis Boubier on the back of his teammate Connor Botting. This is huge for the championship.
Let's see if he just fakes to the outside and goes back to the inside. Botting going to cover that inside line. What about Boubier's run through here? It's not as good as it needs to be, and I don't think he really wanted to make a move through this most technical part of the circuit, of course, so he's going to stay behind and wait his turn. Don't worry about your own Reigns, of course, as well as Boubier there. He can't go all-out attack because he will be under fire himself. James Slates comes in now. This is a very important pit stop for the race leader in AM. These guys are the furthest forward of those who have pitted so far. So the pit stop of James Slates is going to be very, very crucial. He's making his way very slowly down pit lane. Maybe it's just a slow pit lane. It looks like it is. Connor Botting and Lewis Boubier make their way out of Ascari now and towards the Parabolica. They fight all of their own. Will James Slates be out front of them? Will it be a fight for second? It could be, because Franken's already going. It's a short pit stop from him. Well, it's about the same as James Slates, actually. They're both on their way out already. It looks like they're going to be okay. These guys, they will indeed. Because Franken also going to make it out in front, as a lot of the pro drivers also pit in now. We'll see where Chatterton and Reiter come out. Botting and Bouvier fight side by side down towards turn 1. I think Botting is going to hold on here into turn 1, and he will do on the brakes with Jerome Reigns getting involved very nearly there.
Oh my word, that was so scary, and a heart in the mouth moment there for Lewis Boubier. Johan Reigns just getting a little bit too eager on the brakes. We're going to potentially take another look at it. Indeed we are. This is the Belgian just sitting in the wings waiting for something to happen. Just a little bit too eager, tried to spot the gap to the inside and maybe just got it all wrong in terms of the brakes and was trying to avoid. There is a gap, but it is definitely going to close. Bit of a tap. And honestly, I was expecting Boubier to go around there. I think he's very lucky not to have.
Well, Reigns didn't even hit the apex there, so he was really wide of the mark. What's happening for the overall lead? Albin Kjellberg has had a short stop, saving that fuel behind Thomas Reiter, and now he's out in the net race lead. Neil Butler's yet to come in, but he'll do well to come out. Well, he won't come out in front of Kjellberg, I can guarantee that already. He's got over a second. Now can Reiter, Reynolds and Chatterton work together to bring Kjellberg back, as Kjellberg did to Chatterton earlier on in this race?
It's just been such an interesting narrative, but can't wait to see how it unfolds. It's a shame there's only 15 minutes left of it. There's storylines in the pros and in the AMs as well for both championship and, of course, for the places. Lewis Boubier, Connor Botting not separated by much, but also Botting trying to close the gap to Gus Franken. James Slade's really taken off versus Franken to a margin of a few seconds at least, so it has to be said that this is Slade's race to lose, and there's not much the likes of Franken, Botting or Boubier can do to stop it.
Certainly not. Dream again for Lewis Boubier. Will he be able to get through? This is the fight for the bottom step on the podium. You can see Franken in the BMW just in front of them as well. Maybe they'll be able to grab him as well. Let's see. Outside line for Boubier again. It's late on the brakes, and this time with Jerome Reigns not quite as close. He did have a bit more free rein to do what he liked through there, but couldn't really do anything. It's a battle between... This is Harry Wills and Callum Beeman goes on right now. Where's Butler and Andy Miller? Neil Butler's going to find his way ahead of these guys. Andy Miller won't. What about Thomas Reiter? It looks like maybe these three will be able to bring back Kjellberg, and we'll get a 4-car battle for the lead at the very end of this race. Stuart Reynolds is going to be absolutely desperate to win this one and beat Albin Kjellberg and put some points back into Neil Butler after that first race.
Yeah, it's been ebbing and flowing in terms of their positions on track, but they have been the ones consistently up in front. The likes of Albin Kjellberg, Stuart Reynolds and Neil Butler, they are so good over the course of this season. Thomas Reiter has been no mean slouch at all either, especially here at Monza, has really gotten the ball rolling, has really been on the pace as well, and is still well and truly on for this fight for the lead, though time is not on his side. About 1.5 seconds between himself and Albin Kjellberg. That black BMW just in front as they head down this sort of back flat out section, not quite as straight as you head towards Ascari, but it is going to take the cooperation of Stuart Reynolds and Chris Chatterton to close this gap, because yeah, if they start to fight, it is just going to allow Kjellberg to win this race.
Oh, it's a mistake from Thomas Reiter. Now, around the outside for Stuart Reynolds. That's unbelievable, and he might have done it. It looks like he has. Chris Chatterton's going to have the run of them all. He goes to the outside line. This is exactly what Albin Kjellberg wants to see, as they're side-by-side battling for second place here. They're scrapping for places already. Inside line into the Parabolica they go, and Stuart Reynolds is going to hold them all off. Goodness me, Chatterton's going to be have the door slammed in his face there. Thomas Reiter tucks in as well. The three of them so close as they run down towards turn 1. We could see a free wide moment here, or is Chatterton trying to organise them? It looks like he might be. He pushes Reynolds towards the second place. Reiter down the inside though. He wants that second place back. The gap grows to nearly 3 seconds. That kind of battle might win Albin Kjellberg the race.
Might indeed side by side between Lewis Boubier and Connor Botting in towards the Roger. Johan Reigns also there. Bit of side-to-side contact as they head their way towards the Lesmo. You can see there Botting to the inside of the BMW. Boubier trying to get the up and under because of the compromised run from his teammate 3 wide as they head in towards the second one. Though all of them decide better of it. Boubier pushing his teammate through the second Lesmo. What a move that was from Thomas Reiter up in pro. It continues on through the Roger. Reynolds just about hanging on to second place. Though Reiter back up the inside in towards the first Lesmo. Chris Chatterton also still in the mix, and well, they have definitely got no cooperation going on here. Albin Kjærberg now extending his lead.
And that's Gus Franken. Oh, Connor Botting too far down the inside. Gets a hit to the rear as well. Oh, Gus Franken's off entirely. He dropped so many places. Jeroen Reigns and Lewis Boubier both get through as well. This fight is now for second. James Slates is off and away, but Gus Franken not pleased at all. Flash of the lights there with just 10 minutes to go. He's not happy about losing his second place. He's down to 5th. Connor Botting is getting later and later on the brakes though, and I'm afraid he just keep overshooting these corners a little bit. It's a tight line on the exit of the Parabolica to try and just defend from the 2 Audis behind. Jeroen Reigns has got the best run of anybody as they all run below the white line now. They're possibly going to be 3 wide towards turn number 1. Let's see what Jeroen Reigns decides to do. Is he going to try and push Boubier, or is he going to try and make a route of his own? He's going to push Boubier maybe, but Botting once again late on the brakes. Boubier later, and it looks like he's done it. Inside line into turn 2. Lewis Boubier might just have got that position now finally.
Maybe not though, because the run from Botting again, that outside line, the cut back off of turn 2 gives him the better run. Now through Curva Grande, Boubier committing to the left hand side early. Botting forced to the outside, the left hand side is shot as they head in towards the second chicane here at Monza. Final 10 minutes. Ashraf El Haddad, we're getting word, has crashed. The Pro-Am leader side by side in towards the Roger. Botting back up the inside over the curb, doesn't get the best of runs. Here comes the Belgian of Jeroen Reigns now for the podium.
And that's Ashraf El Haddad. I don't know if he was leading at the time. We haven't been with the Pro for a while, but he has been off the road. Connor Botting will hold on to 3rd at least, as Jeroen Reigns is not able to get down the inside. Gus Franken down his inside though. That's contact. They've both gone around. Dirk bounces for cover to go through on both of them. Gus Franken reverses, well, dangerously, but he's gotten away with it through Lesmo 2. Jeroen Reigns doesn't know whether to go or not. There's a spin from Kurt Van Hoornacker as well now, just to make this even more complicated. And when are these guys ever going to be able to turn around? I'm not sure they are. It's what Ashraf El Haddad dealt with. It's a fight with Jeremy De Boyver, and it may well have been for the race lead this. Ashraf El Haddad went off the road, and it was in that battle for the lead with Jeremy De Boyver. The 2 of them were having a fight for the win, and in the end, Ashraf El Haddad went around as we've got Jeroen Reigns, I think that is, off the circuit at the Ascari chicane now.
Oh my god, the short fuse really has detonated the big bomb here at Monza. Now still with only less than 9 minutes left to go. We're going to take a look as to what happened. This is Jeroen Reigns. You can see they're still fighting with Gus Franken as they're heading towards the second Lesmo. This is potentially what sent around Gus Franken and kicked off that whole ordeal through the second Lesmo. Jeroen Reigns then going around, they spin round in tandem, and then I'm guessing that it just sort of, that move from Gus Franken to reverse back onto the gravel trap was a little bit sketchy, but then of course I'm guessing that Jeroen Reigns with the warmer tyres didn't quite get Ascari all hooked up himself. But very, very interesting turn of events, it has to be said.
John Williams, if we didn't say already, has emerged from the pit lane, by the way, and will score points, possibly for 13th place. With Lucas Romano up the order, he's probably going to gain a good 30 points maybe on John Williams, but we'll have to see about the drop week. His current best drop week is 40 points, which is probably worse than what he's going to do today. So I think Romano's going to gain big points, big strides in the Pro-Am Championship. In Pro, we saw Neil Butler extend his championship lead on Stuart Reynolds earlier on today, but I think it's going to be reduced again to only 8 points between the two. Kjærberg has fallen back a little bit today, but this win will do him no disservice as Lucas Romano's in the wall. That was Lucas Romano, and that's big damage for the championship leader, who was set to extend his lead by about 30 points. John Williams is going to be very pleased to see that, because Lucas Romano was going to run away from him there, but that's a huge incident. Stuart Winers gets into the back of him. There's no question who's at fault here, but there's certainly big doubts over Lucas Romano now. He just gets rear-ended here, big damage, and this is huge for the championship. What could have been a huge day for Lucas Romano.
It could have been, and I mean, he did go to the right a little bit, then bring it back to the left, but for Stuart Viner's, yeah, still so eager on the brakes, smacked right into the back of Lucas Romano there. That is a big shame for our now championship leader. He's got to recover. He's only got a few minutes left of this race. He's well past the point scoring margin, and he just has to get what he can. But for him, that is going to be a huge disappointment. Stuart Viner's, I think, just waiting up for Lucas Romano. I don't know what consolation it is going to be because of the state of that BMW, but wow, that again, it just goes to show how quick the pendulum can swing. It looks so good 1 second, and then in the snap of your fingers, it completely changes. In a blink of an eye, it completely changes, and your whole world turns upside down. And for Lucas Romano, that could have been a really good day for the championship.
Esteban Haddad's off again, and there he is in the Porsche on the exit of the Ascari chicane. It was going to be a podium. It could have been the race win. It's not going to be. What a shame for him. He's been second 2 weeks in a row in race 2 now. But this is not going to be his week. Stuart Ryan, by the way, was waiting for Lucas Romano. I think he's given up now because of the damage to the championship leader. So he's going to carry on. And he's just going to have to take some penalty points, I'm afraid, from that one, I'd imagine. This is what happened to Esteban Haddad. He wasn't really, well, he is fighting with a driver just up in front of him there, but that's all on his own. That's completely on his own. And this Porsche, oh, that Porsche's falling apart at the end of this race now. Both literally and metaphorically, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely so. For Ashraf El Haddad, again, it's just that one thing, that one small sort of kink in the chain that has then sparked this negative feedback loop. And for Lucas Romano into the pit lane, same too for Ashraf El Haddad. That is going to spell the end of what could have been two great stories over the course of round 7 of the IMB World Series GT3 EU Season 4. And we're just going to ignore this one, we're getting told, because nothing actually happened. I think a bit of an off-track moment for Andy Miller, but only picking up a 1x from it. This is what happened to Lucas Romano just a couple of laps ago. Bit of a look to the right-hand side. Stuart Viner's way too late on the brakes, smashed right into the back of his fellow BMW and, of course, championship leader. He tried to avoid, but when you're going that speed, there's not really much either of them could have done.
Yeah, was that Winers going too late on the brakes or Romano going too early? Because I'm not entirely sure when these cars brake down there.
Around the 100, surely.
Well, I don't know. I've honestly got no idea because I didn't think. Well, I guess they've got ABS. It helps, but I don't know. I've honestly got no. My driving experience is so lacking these days. I've got no idea because I would have guessed closer to 200 than that. Really, he brakes about 150. Does Romano? But the thing is, Winers doesn't have any problem pulling it up in time for the corner. This is my fit. He doesn't go sailing across the chicane, which is obviously the obvious thing you'd expect when someone's outbroken themselves. Winers would be jumping over those anti-cuts and all sorts, but that didn't happen. So I'm not sure whether Romano, was he looking at his mirrors too much, and did he see 150 thinking it was 100? I'm not entirely sure, but yeah, well, not entirely sure. I've got absolutely no idea, but there was, certainly damage. That's clear to see for Lucas Romano, and on a day where he could have gained about 30 points on John Williams, he's going to gain about 6 in the end of all this, and that's absolutely unbelievable compared to what we've seen earlier on today. He did obviously have the championship lead coming into today. Will have lost a couple of points on that most recent round there. He would have gone down to 7 points his margin, and he'll restore his margin that he had at the start of the day, but he'll be thinking what could have been today.
Yeah, but I mean, a gain's a gain for Lucas Romano. 6 points gain is better than nothing. It's better than losing points, I suppose. Alex Bomberg having a bit of an off going into the second chicane at the Roger. Still emerging in P5, so not too bad. We're going to take a look as to what happened to him. But it seems that whenever Lucas Romano and John Williams have bad luck, they always do it together. They both took their drop week at round 5, and that is just a silly little spin for Alex Bomberg, unfortunately, for him in the Pro-Ams. And they've been so susceptible to it today. However, we cut back because Kieran Smart, Harry Wills, still down each other's throats.
Certainly are, side by side, with Harry Wills on the inside through the Curva Grande, and that's Andy Miller not too far behind in one of those Ferraris who will be benefiting from this greatly as well if he stops going side by side himself. Here they go into the Della Rogia inside line first. Kieran Smart, who tries to shove Harry Wills out of it. Both of them were so committed through there. Look at Andy Miller. He's gained about 2 seconds in one chicane there. That's how committed they were to that 7th place. And in the end, Harry Wills is the one who loses out. Such a shame, but very rare do you see. Normally you see someone really committed and someone back out of it. But both of them just went through with that one, and it ended up losing Harry Wills a place.
Yeah, there's commitment, and then of course there's not quite thinking what the consequences are going to be. They were so, so really committed to those moves, and unfortunately for them, as we say, it was to the detriment of Harry Wills. Unfortunately, lost the place to the Ferrari of Andy Miller. This is Albin Kjellberg leading the way, and very, very well. About 5 seconds clear of Stuart Reynolds. It's been a race that he really had to take with both hands. Starting on pole, he fell back a little bit, but he's really recovered well.
He certainly has. He's looks like he's going to win this race. Not in the conventional way we're expecting, but he might well manage it. As we see Martin Buchan also in the pit lane here. I think he's underfield because he's back in for a very short time. Lucas Romano still out there. If he wants to grab that extra position over Esteban Haddad, he's going to have to leave the pit lane on this last lap right now. Unless he's got a meatball flag, I suppose. Then he's going to have to leave the pit lane right now and go out and overtake Ashraf Haddad, because otherwise he's not going to get him. And he's going to only gain 3 points on John Williams, where he could be gaining 6. So he's got to think about that. And he is leaving the pit lane now. He knows that. So he's now leaving the pit lane to gain those extra 3 points. If ever you wanted an illustration in this championship of how much points matter, this is what they're willing to do. Lucas Romano hasn't got a front end right now, but he needs these points.
It's desperation starting to creep in. They know they need it. It's how much it means to them. It's how close this season has been, because last season we wouldn't have had this. We wouldn't have people scraping the barrel at any points they could have got. But this is what it's come to. These are the measures people have to take. We are now ticked over the 50-minute mark. This will be the final lap of this race, with Albin Kjellberg leading the way, and still this fight between Kieran Smart and Harry Wills rages on. But what a race this has been. What a night this has been.
It has been a fantastic race indeed. Race one maybe under-delivered for us, but this one has certainly made up for it. It's been fantastic. Side by side into Ascari. Oh, Harry Wills has done it right at the end by the looks of it. On the very last lap, Kieran Smart has been displaced as Albin Kjellberg comes out the final corner to redeem himself from race one. Comes back to win here at race 2, keeping his championship hopes alive there from third place. Stuart Reynolds will just close in on that margin as he comes home second, then of Thomas Reiter. Chris Jansen will be fourth, and of Neil Butler, who will see his lead in that championship just sliced by 9 points here in this race, as Stuart Reynolds does indeed get that second place finish of this night. Jeremy De Boiver is going to take the win here in Pro-Am, but the stories are further down. Lucas Romano 11th, John Williams 13th. The two championship contenders. In case you're wondering where the others in that championship are, they're also way down. It's been a strange race down in Pro-Am, and it's not been much more conventional back in the Anfield here. James Slates is going to take this one ahead of Louis Boubier, who will close his championship margin to just 4 points at the end of this race in the AM Championship. It's certainly becoming a two-horse race there, although Dirk Bounce is certainly keeping them in order just for the moment. And James Slates is not a million miles away, but he'll do well. Well, this race win certainly isn't going to do him any harm, but he'll do well to get involved here from this point onwards. Slates has done a good job to stay out of trouble more than anything in this race. Haven't seen too much of him. That's exactly the way you want to be. Absolutely out of trouble, and he's going to take race 2 here at Monza ahead of Louis Boubier, who slashes that AM Championship to just 4 points. It is so close here. A little bit of a two-horse race between those Audis, but we've seen that Louis Boubier and Conor Botting are very much willing to fight for this one out on the road.
Yeah, and it's great to see. I mean, Louis Boubier, what a string of results he's had since round 4. He hasn't finished outside the top 2 in race 2, and over the course of sort of the first 3 rounds of the season, he was, I guess, the laughingstock of race 2s. He was the one we went into and was like, is he going to actually get a good result? His race 1s were impeccable, really good, but his race 2s did lack, and now he's making up for it, and now he's making real strides towards the championship, and I'm just glad that the 2 teammates are really going at it.
They certainly are. Albin Kjellberg wins, though, by 5 seconds ahead of Stuart Reynolds and Thomas Reiter. Chris Charlton will be disappointed with 4th after leading all those laps. Neil Butler with another top 5 for him. Callum Beam at 6th ahead of Harry Wills. Kieran Smart, Andy Miller and Joris Yeomantas round out the top 10, with Thomas Dandridge down in 11th. Jonas Dreyer, Leah Holmes and Louis Gardner will not score any points from that race. Jeremy De Boiver wins in a very strange topsy-turvy Pro-Am race by 12 seconds ahead of Edward Packer. Stuart Winers in the top 3 there, gains some points back for gained some of the ones back that he lost in race 1, to be fair. Front row Perdrell with another top 5 for him. Alex Bomberg 5th, ahead of Simon Dodd and Dean Timms, the final driver on the lead lap. Martin Booking with that late pit stop finish down in 8th for Liam Mahoney and Juho Hooten, rounding out the top 10. Lucas Romano did gain 6 points, but only 6 points on John Williams with that 11th place finish. Echeverria Haddad split those two, with Chris Thacker, the final driver, to score points, as Michael Patterman and Didier Vlamink miss out. And finally, in the Anfield, James Slates wins by 12 seconds ahead of Lewis Boubier. Connor Botting fought with him all the way to the end, but he finishes third ahead of Dirk Pouts. Then it will be Navarro de Boiva running out the top 5. Mark Bailey will be ahead of Alistair Hatcher. Then it's Gus Franken 8th, Jeroen Reigns and Glenn Humberstone round out the top 10. Kurt van Hoornacker 11th ahead of Carl Pearce. Mark Oliver and Tony Norgran failed to score any points from that race. And that is exactly where we're going to start with the interviews, bringing in James Slates, the race winner in race 2 from the Anfield. James, welcome to the booth. Good to have you here. We didn't see an awful lot of you throughout race 2, I've got to say, because you were out on your own and there were battles going on everywhere, it has to be said. But what was that race like for you? Was it a bit of a lonely drive out front on that occasion?
First not, but I have a little bit traffic with the two Audis, Connor and I think it was the Carl, I think. And then I take the position over, and then was it a lonely race?
Absolutely, but a win must be nice to get for you. I mean, how has your season been going so far in terms of race win? Is this your best performance on a pairing of rounds so far, would you say?
Yeah, I think my performance, my pace goes always better and better. Yeah. I think I the next race I'll need a lot of points for the championship, and I hope so. I come shorter to the top 3 positions. I hope so.
Absolutely, and do you think you'll do well at Mosport in terms of how you think you're going to run there and in terms of your pace?
I think it was good.
Okay, we look forward to seeing you there, James. Congratulations on race 2 victory here in this race here tonight, and we look forward to seeing you again next week.
Yeah, I hope so. I take the line to the next week. Same good positions. I hope so.
Let's hope so. Thanks very much. James Slates victorious in that Anfield in race 2, and just behind him was Lewis Boubier, who will join us now. Second place, Lewis, on that second race of the evening, but more points gained in the championship on both particular races here this evening. You must be relatively pleased, although you didn't get obviously a race win here on this particular evening. You've gained points in the championship, so you must be pleased.
I'm very pleased. Like I said last week, coming into this, the Audi wasn't going to be good here, and I got on poles somehow. I think that's good one-lap pace, but in a straight line, the BMWs were just outstanding, and Dirk managed to get me in that first race, so I finished second there. Like, it was close, but the BMW is fast, and the second race was an absolute battle.
Yes, it was. We were watching most of it. Very entertaining, I've got to say. I mean, I know it's 3 weeks away still, but we do have a race coming up at Daytona. Are you a little bit worried about that, having to drive the Audi around there? You mentioned the straight line speed problems compared to the BMW in particular. Does that make you fear slightly for the Daytona round in 3 weeks?
It's going to be interesting since the new update to iRacing is coming out the weekend before, or at that week even. So the BOP, what the cars are going to be performing like with all the updates that are planned for the GT3 series, is like no one knows what their car's going to be like around there. Whether it's similar, whether I have the same deficit in a straight line, it's going to be very confusing.
Good point. It's going to be a very interesting race and a bit of a learning curve for everyone, I think, but that's to look forward to in a few weeks' time. For now, congratulations on another successful evening for yourself, and we look forward to seeing you again next week for the 8th round.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks very much. Lewis Boubier, second place in race 2 here in the Anfield. Now we're going to move up to the Pro-Ams now. Jeremy de Boiva joining us after winning in Pro-Am throughout that race. Jeremy, welcome to the booth. Good to have you here as well. You had a relatively late battle there with Echeverria Haddad, who was leading for most of that race in Pro-Am, but you eventually managed to see him off. I know there was a mistake from El Haddad towards the end, but did you think you were going to overtake him anyway? How were you feeling going into that battle?
Well, I don't know if I make a chance to overtake him, but I was take the pressure on him, and I saw he had a little bit of oversteer with his car at that point, so I take my chance to go on the inside. I had the lucky that we didn't make contact, and from then on, and I tried to make a good pace to try to make my first win this season, and it feels very good.
Yeah, absolutely. You just mentioned it's your first win here this season. How has this season gone for you in terms of results? I know this is your first win, but have you been disappointed that it's taken you this long to get a race win, or have you just kind of been learning to the new category?
Well, first of all, we go a step higher now. It's a Pro-Am. Last year we drive in the AM classification, so that's a big step. But I feel for myself that maybe I struggle more with the BMW than with the other car like Porsche last year. Maybe that's a reason, I don't know. But also I think the biggest improvement is that team like RP Motorsport make a big improve to my brake pedal on my steering wheel, because I do everything with my hand controls for my disability, and I think that's the biggest improve that I have from this race. So I hope I can the pace go to the next races and maybe get another chance to go on the podium this season.
Absolutely, we look forward to seeing you. Maybe we'll see you on the top step again very soon. For now, though, Jeremy, congratulations on a race win here tonight in Pro-Am, and we're very much looking forward to seeing you again next week.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Goodbye.
Thanks very much, Jeremy De Boyver, victorious in Pro-Am here in race 2 at Monza. And we're going to stay in Pro-Am finally to bring in John Williams, a slightly more deflated John Williams than what we heard from earlier on. John, it was outside the top 10 on this occasion, 7 laps down, involved in an incident, I think lap 2 it was, very early on. Just talk us through that one going down in towards turn number 1.
Yeah, first of all, congratulations to Jeremy and his win. But yeah, the move was on going into turn 1 with Lucas, not with Francois. Unfortunately, Francois, I think he was slowing down a little bit more because of an accident that was actually on the chicane. But I just kind of like, if he wasn't there, I would have made the corner 100%, 110%.
Absolutely, it's an unfortunate one, and one of those things that happens early on in a race. I kind of want to ask you about how you felt when you'd heard that Lucas Romano had been involved in an incident, actually, because I know that you never want to see someone else off the road and in the wall, because it's not good to see. But it did benefit you greatly in the championship. You were, at one point, I calculated you were going to lose about 30 points, which could have been championship ending, to be honest. But you've lost nowhere near that in the end. You've only lost 6 in that entire race. So how are you feeling after all that roller coaster of emotions?
I'm not going to lie. I was saying to the boys in chat, I hope Lucas has got a dog or something. He jumps on him. Anything to happen. I don't know what happened. I'm not seeing the incident yet, but whatever happened, I'm grateful, very grateful.
It certainly helps you out quite a lot in this race. In this championship. Only losing 6 points in that one. It remains very close indeed. How do you think you're going to go on next week at Mosport?
I don't know the track, so I'm going to put another 500 laps, 600 laps in, and hopefully back-to-back wins.
To be fair, it's a short circuit, so 500 laps will take you about 2 minutes. Anyway, I'm joking, of course, but it is going to be a learning curve for a lot of people, I think. So we look forward to seeing how you get on. But for now, congratulations on race 1 victory either way tonight, even if race 2 didn't go your way. And as I say, we look forward to seeing you again next week.
Yeah, can I just give a shout?
Of course.
Yeah, I just want to shout the team out. That got me back all the time, and I appreciate it. And also apologies to Francois and Lucas. It wasn't deliberate, and it was a stupid mistake.
John Williams, congratulations on your race here this afternoon, and we'll see you again next week.
Good night, guys.
There we are. That's your interviews for this round at Monza. Well, it was a very interesting couple of races. Like, as I said, race 1 maybe under-delivered a little bit, but race 2 certainly did. And it was very good in the end. We still have 3 very close championships though, and not an awful lot has changed. Although a lot's happened today. When you look at the results and the championships by the end, you wouldn't have thought an awful lot had happened.
No, you wouldn't have. You'd have just, having looking at the races at face value, you'd have been like, oh, there must have been some massive shifts in the championship. This person must have been drastically losing points, or this, that, or the other. No, they've just sort of stayed where they are. Everything's just sort of stayed the same, regardless of how chaotic tonight's race was. And then we go into the final 3 rounds, round 8, round 9, and round 10 with Mosport, Daytona, and Bathurst. 3 incredibly good circuits to round off the season, and with 3 incredibly good championships as well. I just can't wait. I mean, we don't know. We can't make predictions. We can't say who's going to win or who's most favourite, because everyone involved in every championship has proved that they deserve to be a champion. And wow, I'm just looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Make sure you join us in 1 week's time for that race at Mosport. It should be an absolute cracker. But of course, in 3 hours' time, we'll be back on air again for the US version of this championship, which is getting interesting towards its final rounds as well. So make sure you join us for that. But for now, I've been Ewan O'Leary. Zach Sweeney has been alongside me, and David Christie has been behind the cameras here this evening. And until we see you in a few hours' time, or indeed next week for our next broadcast, it's goodbye for now.